My best friend stole my husband, so I took hers, and we made sure they regretted everything. I, 32, was married to my husband, Daniel, 34, for 7 years. We had a quiet, stable life. Not perfect, but good enough that I never questioned it. We had routines, shared bills, Sunday grocery trips, the kind of normal that feels permanent. And then there was my best friend, Camille, 31. We met in college and stuck together through everything: breakups, job changes, family issues. She was the one person I trusted without hesitation, the kind of friend who had a key to my house, who could show up unannounced and still be welcome. She was also married to Marcus, 35. Marcus was different from Daniel, more reserved, observant, the kind of person who didn't say much but always seemed to notice everything. We weren't especially close, but we got along. The four of us spent a lot of time together. Dinners, game nights, random weekends hanging out. It felt easy, familiar, safe. Looking back now, that's what makes it worse. The change didn't happen all at once. It never does. It started small. Camille coming over more often when I wasn't home yet. Daniel mentioning things like, "Oh, Camille dropped by earlier." At first, I thought nothing of it. Why would I? She was my best friend. He was my husband. Then came the little things. Inside jokes between them that I didn't understand. Her laughing a little too long at things he said. Him defending her in conversations where it didn't really matter. I noticed it, but I explained it away. Because the alternative was unthinkable. The first real crack came during a dinner at our place. Marcus had stepped out to take a call, and I was in the kitchen grabbing drinks. When I came back, I saw something I still wish I could unsee. Camille's hand was on Daniel's arm. Not casually. Not like a friendly tap. It lingered. And the way they looked at each other, it wasn't innocent. They pulled apart the second they noticed me. Too quickly. Too obviously. "Everything okay?" I asked, trying to keep my voice normal. "Yeah," Camille said, smiling a little too brightly. "Just talking." Daniel didn't say anything. That silence stuck with me. I told myself I was overthinking. I told myself I was being paranoid. But once you see something like that, you can't unsee it. You start noticing everything. The way they texted more. The way Camille always seemed to know Daniel's schedule. The way Daniel suddenly cared a lot about how he looked when she was around. It built up slowly like pressure, until it finally broke. I had come home early from work. Headache, long day, just wanting to lie down. The house was quiet, which was normal, until I heard voices. From upstairs. From my bedroom. My heart started pounding so hard it felt like it might crack my ribs. I told myself it could be anything. But deep down, I already knew. I walked upstairs slowly, each step heavier than the last. The door was slightly open. And through that gap, I saw them. Daniel, Camille, my husband, my best friend, in my bed. I didn't scream. I just froze. For a moment, I was watching my life fall apart. Then the door creaked, and they both turned. The look on their faces, shock, guilt, panic. "Opie," Camille started. Hearing my name from her mouth in that moment felt like an insult. "How long?" I asked. Neither of them answered. "Don't lie to me," I said louder this time. Daniel finally spoke. 3 months. 3 months. 3 months of them smiling at me, sitting across from me, pretending everything was normal. I laughed. It was the only thing keeping me from breaking. "Get out," I said. They didn't move. "Get out," I repeated, sharper this time. That was enough. They scrambled, grabbing clothes, avoiding my eyes, rushing past me like I was the one who didn't belong there. And just like that, they were gone. The silence afterward was unbearable. I sat on the edge of the bed for what felt like hours, staring at nothing, trying to process how my entire life had just shattered. But the sadness didn't last long, because it was quickly replaced by something else. Anger. I expected apologies, explanations, something. Instead, I got a text from Camille the next day. I didn't mean for this to happen. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied, "How?" She didn't answer. Because there was no answer. Daniel tried calling. He left a voicemail. "I still care about you," he said. That almost made me throw my phone. Still care, as if that meant anything now. And then 2 days later, I got a message from Marcus, Camille's husband. "Can we talk?" That message changed everything. We met at a small cafe, neutral ground. Marcus looked wrecked. Not dramatic, not loud. Just broken in a quiet way. "I didn't know," he said immediately. I believe you, I replied. We sat there for hours, piecing everything together, realizing just how long they'd been lying to both of us. At some point, he let out a dry laugh. They really chose each other over us. Something about that hit hard. Because it was true. Two betrayed spouses sharing information, then going their separate ways. But it didn't happen like that. Because understanding someone like that creates a connection you don't expect. We started texting after that. At first, it was practical, sharing information, figuring out what we didn't know yet. Then it became something else. Late-night conversations, random check-ins, messages that had nothing to do with them anymore. Did you eat today? Are you okay? I keep replaying everything. He understood in a way no one else could. There was no need to explain the pain, the anger, the confusion. He just got it. And that kind of understanding is dangerous. A week later, we met again. This time it wasn't about information. We just didn't want to be alone. We talked for hours about everything and nothing. At some point, the topic shifted. They're still together, Marcus said. I nodded. I'd heard the same. They look happy, he added. That word, happy, hit something raw inside me. Of course they do, I said quietly. There was a long pause. Then Marcus said something that changed everything. They don't get to walk away from this like nothing happened. I looked up at him. What do you mean? They hurt us, lied to us, and now they just move on? His jaw tightened. That doesn't sit right with me. I felt it too. That quiet, simmering anger I'd been trying to ignore. So what are you saying? I asked. He hesitated for a second. Maybe they should feel what we felt. The air between us shifted. This wasn't just venting anymore. This was something else. Something intentional. I should have shut it down. I should have said no. But instead I asked, how? The plan didn't form all at once. It built slowly, piece by piece, in late-night conversations and quiet moments where anger felt stronger than reason. We didn't want chaos. We wanted impact. They think they won, Marcus said one night, like they got away with it. Then we show them they didn't, I replied. At first, it was simple ideas. Letting people know the truth, making sure their version of the story didn't stick. But then it shifted. They trust each other now, Marcus said. That's the foundation they built everything on. And if that breaks, I added. He looked at me, and in that moment, we both understood. The most effective revenge wasn't loud. It was personal, precise. And it started with us. We didn't cross the line right away. We told ourselves we were just playing along, creating doubt, getting closer for the sake of the plan. But lines blur quickly when emotions are involved. And one night, after too many conversations, too much shared pain, we stopped pretending. The next morning, everything felt different. Not wrong. Not right either. Just inevitable. Marcus sat across from me quiet. This changes things, he said. I nodded. Are we still doing this? He asked. I met his eyes. Yes, because at that point, it wasn't just about them anymore. It was about taking back control. And neither of us realized yet just how far we were about to go. Once the line was crossed, there was no more pretending this was just about talking or planning. Marcus and I had become part of the story now, whether we wanted to admit it or not. If we're doing this, Marcus said one night, we do it right. I nodded. No half measures. Because half measures were how people like Daniel and Camille got away with things. The first step was simple. Truth. Marcus had access to Camille's messages. I still had old texts from Daniel. We had more than enough proof of the affair. Dates, times, conversations. They've probably already told their version, I said. They definitely have, Marcus replied. And I'm guessing we're the villains in it. Then we fix that, I said. We didn't blast everything online. Instead, we were careful. We reached out to the close friends, family. We kept it simple. This is what happened. And then we showed them. The reactions were immediate. Shock, anger, disbelief. That was just the beginning. They trust each other now, Marcus said a few days later. That's what's holding them together. And if that trust breaks, I finished. He nodded. That's when everything falls apart. We went publicly together. At first, cafe and places people might see us, casual posts, enough to get back to them. It worked faster than I expected. Daniel texted me first. What are you doing with him? I stared at the message. A strange mix of satisfaction and something else, moving on. He didn't respond right away. Camille's reaction came through Marcus. She asked me if there's something going on between us. He told me. And what did you say? I asked her why it matters. I smiled. The tension between them grew quickly. We didn't even need to push. They did the rest themselves, second-guessing each other, who they were talking to, because deep down, they both knew exactly what betrayal looked like. They'd done it before. One night, Marcus showed me a message from Camille. "Are you seeing her?" I read it twice before handing his phone back. "What are you going to say?" I asked. "The truth," he said. And for the first time, I felt something warm. What starts as justice can turn into something heavier if you're not careful. And we were getting very close to that line. Something between Marcus and me was starting to feel real. And that was never part of the plan. The night it all came to a head, Daniel showed up at my door again. But this time he wasn't calm. "You think this is funny?" He snapped. I crossed my arms. "What exactly?" "You and him, this whole thing. You're doing this on purpose." "And you didn't?" He flinched. Meanwhile, Camille was doing the same to Marcus. Accusations, questions, doubt, their perfect little relationship was already falling apart. But standing there, looking at Daniel, hearing the anger in his voice, I realized something. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. The only question left was, how far were we willing to take it? By the time everything fully collapsed, it wasn't dramatic like the movies. No big explosion, no single perfect moment, just cracks spreading until nothing could hold. It started with Camille. She showed up at Marcus's place uninvited one night, and I was there. The moment she saw me, her face changed. Not surprise, not confusion, recognition. "So it's true," she said quietly. Marcus didn't answer. He didn't need to. I stepped forward slightly. "You really thought this would stay stable?" Her eyes flicked between us. "You're doing this to punish me." I let out a short laugh. "No," I said. "You did that part yourself." That hit her harder than she expected. Because for the first time, there was no performance left. No pretending this was complicated or accidental. It was just truth. Ugly and simple. The same night, Daniel showed up again at my place. But this time, he didn't look angry. He looked tired. Exhausted in a way that went deeper than sleep. "You did this," he said. But it wasn't an accusation anymore. More like he was trying to understand it. I shook my head slowly. "No," I replied. "You started it when you stopped respecting what we had." Silence. For the first time, he didn't have a quick answer. The breaking point came when Marcus and I stopped hiding. We didn't announce anything. We didn't need to. We just stopped pretending there was anything left to hide. That was enough. Camille found out first, then Daniel, then everyone else. And whatever fragile illusion they had left, of control, of stability, of it's not the same, collapsed instantly. Because suddenly they were on the outside, looking in. The confrontation happened in one place I didn't expect, a restaurant. All four of us. No planning, just coincidence and bad timing. Camille stared at me like she couldn't believe I was real. Daniel wouldn't look at Marcus. "You replaced me," Camille said finally. I tilted my head slightly. "No," I said. "You replaced yourself." That shut her down. Daniel tried to speak, but Marcus cut in first. "This isn't about replacement," he said calmly. "It's about what you both chose." That word, chose, landed heavy. Because that was the truth none of us could escape. No accidents, no misunderstandings, just decisions. And then came the part none of them were ready for. Camille's voice cracked when she said, "Do you even love her?" She was looking at Marcus. He didn't hesitate. Yes. Simple. Clean. No hesitation. And somehow that was worse than anything else. Daniel looked at me then. For the first time, really looked. "What about you?" he asked quietly. I thought about it. The betrayal, the anger, the slow rebuild of something unexpected. Then I said the only honest thing left. I stopped waiting for you to choose me. That was the moment everything ended. Not with shouting. Weeks passed. Camille and Daniel didn't stay together. That fell apart quickly once there was nothing left but guilt. We had changed too. It was heavy. The dust didn't just settle, it cleared, leaving behind a landscape that was finally quiet enough to build on. For a long time, Marcus and I were defined by what we had survived. The shared scars of betrayal and the calculated precision of our retaliation. But as the months turned into years, the revenge aspect of our story faded into a distant, blurry memory. We didn't just move on. We grew deep, sturdy roots in the space where our old lives had burned down. Our relationship transitioned from a shared alliance to a genuine, unwavering partnership. There was no need for the games or the work-wife dynamics that had plagued our pasts, because we had built our foundation on a brutal, absolute honesty. We knew the worst of each other, and we chose to stay anyway. Trust. Rebuilt not through grand gestures, but through the small, consistent piece of knowing exactly where the other person stood. We shift our focus from looking backward at the people who hurt us to looking forward at the life we were creating. 3 years later, the silence that used to feel heavy was filled with the chaotic, beautiful noise of a home. We had a daughter, Maya, and a son, Leo. Looking at them, it was impossible to see the wreckage we had come from. To them, we weren't two people who had played a high-stakes game of emotional chess. We were just mom and dad. One evening, while the kids were finally asleep and the house had returned to its peaceful hum, Marcus leaned against the kitchen counter watching me. He didn't look like the man I met in the heat of a scandal. He looked settled. He looked like home. "You ever think about that night at the restaurant?" he asked softly, referring to the final confrontation with Camille and Daniel. I smiled, realizing it took me a moment to even summon the memory. "Rarely. It feels like a movie I saw a long time ago." He reached out, taking my hand. "Good. Because this," he gestured to the drawings pinned to the fridge and the quiet hallway leading to our children's rooms, "this is the only truth that stuck." Conclusion. We didn't end up together because of the people who betrayed us. We ended up together because, in the middle of the chaos, we discovered we were the only ones who truly saw each other. The revenge wasn't in the downfall of our exes. It was in our happiness. It was in the fact that we took the broken pieces they left behind and used them to build a fortress. We didn't just survive the wreckage. We turned it into a sanctuary. We had found a new way to breathe, and as I leaned into Marcus, I realized we weren't just breathing. We were finally, for the first time, alive.